Welcome to Sacred Rebels podcast, where we discuss life after trauma as we question societal norms and shatter stigmas. Are you a woman who longs for a sense of community and understanding? Well, stick around. There is a seat for you here. This is your host, Tay.
And co-host Amy.
And we're just two best friend millennial moms and entrepreneurs navigating life and motherhood while on a spiritual healing journey.
We don't do surface level, and we're definitely not your typical moms, so let's dig deep. We plan to cover it all and take you behind the scenes as we share our personal experiences, learn more about the holistic side of healing, and introduce all the incredible humans we've met along the way.
Join us as we share the good, the bad, and the ugly side of healing. We hope to help you step into your power. Thanks so much for listening. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Sacred Rebels. Tonight we have Jessica here. Amy will introduce her after we do our big deep breath.
One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Take a big inhale through the nose. Really lift up, rise up, fill up. Slowly exhale, let it go. So I'm very honored and excited to have Jessica Holland here. She is a Bufo practitioner and a integrative counselor. I got it. It was like a tongue-tie twister. We got it. But she's amazing. Medicine woman, midwife, all the beautiful things. And we had her pick a card, so we'll start with that.
Yep.
So I chose Beyond the Mind, the Heart Beats. And this is the selection that really meant something to me. It says, the mind sees, plans, and strategizes. The heart feels, responds, senses, and intuits. When we walk the path of the heart, we must feel and respond rather than plan our way. It is a different way to live and create. It is closer to the earth and to the source of life itself. It is not for those who are lacking in courage and trust, but you are not one of those.
Nope.
Not one of those.
You cannot lack courage.
Well, even just the part about living out of the mind. You know, the mind, what I think of the mind, I think of like masculine energy. It's very linear and rational, and it plans things out in a linear way. And the heart just, like, it doesn't really plot its course. That's to me the more of the divine feminine.
Yeah.
It's intuition. And I used to live out of the mind, I feel like, because that was what I was pressured to do, you know, being in this, you know, patriarchal world and growing up in the church. And, you know, so having to live out of that and really deny who I am, in essence, living out of my heart. It's like now I've come into that fully. And
Yeah.
not that I disregard the mind and what it wants, but this is what I follow now, is my heart. And that's where my power is. And that's the divine feminine.
Yeah.
Is being connected to your intuition.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and the more we go against our intuition and the more, you know, we have these experiences that we're doubting ourselves, the less we can actually grow and, you know, feel the love and also give love.
Absolutely.
And we're not even aware that we're doing it.
I know.
When I same, like living out of your mind, sometimes we're not even aware because it's
I
our
still do
programming.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do it. I'm constantly like, okay, this isn't how I truly feel. Like, snap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I live very in my masculine energy, and I need to heal a lot of parts of that so I can get back more into my feminine energy, because that's what I want, like, ultimately, you know?
Well, and that's what is applauded, or has been applauded by society, is that masculine energy.
Yep.
It's really what has governed, like, how companies run for all these years. You know, it's really about planning, strategizing, just like the card said, and really not making space to live out of your heart, that divine feminine. And I know for myself, in past relationships, my marriage especially, you know, I was continually gaslighted for living out of my intuition, because there's nothing really to back that up. There's no substance or proof.
There's no
exactly.
proof. Yeah.
Right. And they want that.
Yep.
And they make you feel like you have to give it, when really you don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer to anyone. You're just there. You don't have a reason. It's just part of your spiritual DNA, which is why you can't say, well, this is why.
Yeah.
You just know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the inner knowing. the remembering and knowing that, yeah, like I feel this so deeply, so it has to be true. And if you can't see it, that's not my business. That's not my business that you can't see that like what this is so real for me.
Yeah.
And because you can't be open to something other than your rigid facts. Your rigid facts that, you know, what I'm saying. Woo!
There goes the plane. Perfect timing.
Pretty much. That, you know, that if you don't have this, and this to back it up, that it's not factual.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
We don't live that way. We don't have to live that way anymore. And I'm just learning that myself.
Yeah.
Well, I think that needs to be the message for women, and that's why I really appreciate what you ladies are doing, because they need to hear other women empowering other women and saying, trust yourself, trust your heart.
Agreed.
You know, and that message needs to, you know, filter down into like women, you know, women that are young, women that are like children, you know, girls, they all need to hear that message so that they can trust themselves.
Yeah.
I believe that too. That's still like one of my biggest like, you know, struggles is that I have like ingrained in my mind that I can't trust my judgment, and like that's just not the case. Like I'm very intuitive, and I need to stop like doubting myself when I get these messages or when I get these feelings, and I'm like, but no, like, you know, there's no proof, like, you know.
Yeah.
I have to stop doing that to myself for sure.
If it comes to you, it's for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. That's the message. If it comes to you, it's for you.
That's so good.
Yeah. And we're like, no.
That'll
Why?
be the title. That'll be the title of tonight's episode. If it comes to you, it's for you.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that's, you know, that's how we met. You know, it was a very organic, you know, I had a lunch meeting with Jed in Jed's, you know, Jessica's son, and I was explaining to him what was going on in my life, and he was like, Amy, you need to meet my mom. And as soon as he said it, it was an instant yes. It was an instant, yes, I do. How do I do that?
Yeah.
Connect me, please. You know, and I could have doubted that. I could have, you know, questioned that and been like, why? Like, I'm doing all these other things. Why do I need somebody else? But no, I felt it in through my whole body and my whole being that I needed to meet you.
Yeah.
I felt the same way when he told me about you. So, yeah, it was definitely a
Meant
divine
to be.
connection. Yes, for sure.
A big yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your backstory, like how, you know, you got introduced to Bufo, how you became a facilitator. What's that like? You said you grew up in the church, so
Yes.
I'm assuming very religious. So tell us a little bit about all that. I'm so curious.
Well, my father is a Wesleyan pastor, and so I grew up from the time, I mean, that's all I knew was Christianity. That's how I was raised, and that's what I decided to do with my life. I went to ministerial school after high school and met my ex-husband there. He was also studying for the same degree, which is theology and biblical studies. And we got married and moved back to Syracuse, New York, and had 7 children together and started our own church, started our 501c3 where we were helping men with chemical addictions. And so it was very, very religious, very disciplined, very austere, strict interpretation of the Bible, literal, which is part of that conditioning that we talked about with not being able to really connect with your intuition, because if that's something that doesn't seem to be aligning with someone's interpretation of the Bible, then you're wrong. The Bible is not wrong. Like, you're wrong. And so that was just continually just programmed into my psyche the whole from the time I was born to, you know, really when it started dismantling and I realized like this is not what I want. But that was for let's see, all the way up until I was about 40. And that's when things started unraveling. And the blinders started coming off and the scales started becoming removed. I had been in a very abusive relationship with my children's dad, physically, spiritually, sexually, emotionally. I think spiritually was the worst abuse, because that's where they take your belief system and they turn it against you and manipulate you with your own core belief system. And, that's a very frightening place to be. So I was living in constant fear that, like, if I did something wrong, then I'm affecting my relationship with God. And so that was the thing that anchored me through all of the abuse, was my relationship with God. And then that was used as a weapon against me. So it got to a point where I just completely gave up. I gave up, and I stepped out of my marriage. I stepped out of the church, which was my community. That's all I had known my entire life, was my church community. I didn't, I had practices that were part of that community that were not the same as, like, was, what was happening in the world around me. It was kind of like a bubble that I was living in, and there was safety in that space. And so there was a lot of fear to leave that, because I was leaving everything I had ever known. And
it's terrifying.
It was completely terrifying. And I had one friend that I had gone to school with. He was a therapist, and somehow our paths crossed through, I think, Facebook or something like that, which I wasn't even on social media at that time. And I started just sharing what was happening in my life and the situations. And when you're in an abusive situation, it's almost like Stockholm syndrome. It's your normal. Like, it's so fear based that you don't want to leave. You're afraid to leave. You think you can't leave. I didn't realize I had a choice. And that was the thing that was creating probably the most despair in my soul at that time, until I left. And then I left. And once I left, things really started unraveling for me. I mean, things on the outward were looking really good, because, I found a job right away, and I had a friend that I was staying with that allowed me to live with her until I could get stabilized, because I had no resources at that time, because my resource was the church. And so leaving the church meant
How about your children too? Were your children at this age, like, what age were they at this point?
They were still kind of young. The youngest, I think, Isaac was probably 7, 8 years old.
Okay, yeah. So this is like over 10 years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so it was still kind of a rocky place for them to be, and for me to leave the home. And of course, because I left, I was demonized as the one abandoning the family.
Yep.
Right. So I had a tough choice to make, because it's like, okay, stay here and keep the status quo, which is all an illusion, because there is no love here, or do the thing that was most empowering for me and would ultimately empower all of my children, not just my girls, but my boys too, to see this is what, this is not how you act in a relationship. And so I left, and things, like I said, I went back to school. I got my master's degree in education, and I was working, full time at the same time as being a full-time student. So outwardly, it looked like things were becoming stable, but inside, I was falling apart. I was a complete wreck, and went into just complete and utter despair. And, leaving the church, so, like, what I had known, that paradigm of belief system had crumbled.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything to even anchor to. So that compounded the
really
sense of
believe in.
aloneness and despair that I was experiencing. And I got completely fascinated with near-death experiences, because I would read these stories where people had, like, almost died and had come back, survived it, and they had this reset, this new way of viewing the world and experiencing life.
That's literally what happened to me. That's literally what happened to me after my last overdose. Yeah. I like swear I was dead for like 11 minutes.
Oh my God.
And they said it was like a miracle that I came back like not brain dead. And I swear to God, it like changed me.
It
like
did
I
something.
came back a different person. Yeah.
And see, I would read about stories like yours. I was listening to like every podcast. I would look up like every podcast. There's a near-death experience podcast out there. So I was always listening to those, any book I could find. So I just became obsessed with having a near-death experience because I was like, this is the only thing that's going to fix me. I'm just in utter despair and I'm too scared to kill myself, and I don't want to leave my children behind. But something needed to shift inside of me. So I kept trying to think of how I could die without, coming back.
Not coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I need to die and come back. But how does that happen,
Yeah.
So I was like left in this conundrum of like, okay, I need a near-death experience, but I don't know how to do that. And then one of my friends had gone to a concert in New York City and had come back, and she says, you won't believe this. I met this young man, and he was telling me about this toad that changed his life. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Toad medicine. I had never, like, I was one that didn't even drink alcohol. Like, I didn't have alcohol until I was, like, in my 40s. And, never did any drugs. And so, like, toad medicine, what the hell is this? And she was like, well, it facilitates a near-death experience. And I was like, I'm in. I'm going to do
Sign
this.
me up.
And I had no idea that it like had DMT in it. And like, in fact, after the fact, my son was like, Mom, do you realize you smoke DMT? And I was like, what's DMT? I had no idea what I had done, but that rocked my world. It did exactly what I had been hoping for with a near-death experience. It reset me. It completely reset me. So that is my first Bufo toad medicine experience is my BCE CE moment in my life. Like I have my life before toad and then my life after toad.
Same.
I love that.
That's how it changed me. That's how much it changed me.
I love that so much. I can't wait to experience it.
Yeah.
Like, cannot
Changed
wait.
my whole life. Definitely near-death experience, for sure. And reborn, literally. The first time wasn't as profound as the second time was for me, though. But I'm sure that's,
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
How was that? Was your do you feel like, or do you just feel like you had such a profound experience that first time? Not that I didn't have such a profound.
Well, no. I mean, a lot of people don't even remember their first time. And so for me, I didn't know what to expect. I'm smoking it, and then I see, like, the facilitator's hand in front of me. It was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And everything turned, like, purple because I think the pipe was actually purple. And I was gone. And the next thing I remember, there was a white light, and then I was back. And so I have no memory. I had no journey experience with it the first time. But it didn't matter because the medicine had already started working. And when I went home that night, it was like I just kept going back into the medicine.
And you kept activating, I bet.
Oh.
Probably just like
And
inner
it was,
knowing things coming to you.
It was crazy. It was a crazy experience. A lot of times I don't share that with people because they're like, oh, fuck, no, I'm not doing this medicine. Yeah. But it was just the things that I had lived in such a state of denial.
Yeah.
And disassociative behavior, just not even being embodied because of the trauma I experienced over like a long-term marriage of 20 years of abuse. And so all of that was like starting to surface because for the first time, it was being unleashed, whether I liked it or not. And so it was a little disorienting to have to
come back to life.
Yes, navigate through all of that was surfacing. And it wasn't just my stuff surfacing. It was a new aspect of reality that I had never experienced before because I had never, like I said, never done any psychedelics or any medicine for that matter. So it was like the veil,
mind blown,
had been ripped back, and I was like, "Oh God, what is this world?" And then to integrate that into what was also surfacing was a little challenging, but now having come through it,
Yeah.
that has been the catalyst for the deepest connection with myself and the return to my heart and my
Yeah.
intuition.
The journey to the heart.
And trusting myself more now than ever before.
Yeah, I love
and
that
that's,
so much.
I can accredit to that first Bufo experience.
Yeah. So then that took you on a 10-year journey.
So no,
12
that
years.
was
Coming here?
that was almost 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
My first
Oh,
experience.
okay.
Yes,
I thought
and
this
so-
was like right when you left your home.
Oh no. So I was like experiencing a dark night of the soul for 7 years.
Oh, that's so sad.
Just 7 years of
Breaks my
just
heart.
utter misery, just not knowing how. But it was even that, the way I view it now is so different from when I was in it.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing how it was a tool that was used
the lessons. Yeah.
for my expansion and connection with myself now, which is incredible. I wouldn't trade anything or change anything from that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first time was for sure so healing. I remember just coming back and like holding myself and saying, I got you, because it was like I saw little Amy that was like, and I was for the first time able to like embrace myself and forgive myself a piece, because I did a lot of that the second time, but the first time, like, I was like shaking. I was like feeling the trauma, like removing from my body. Like the trauma was stuck in my body. And I remember I was shaking. My legs were shaking. I was like rubbing myself. I was like holding myself. I was crying. And it was literally and even though I was like re-feeling everything and allowing everything to process, it was like there was a joy in knowing that it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was moved.
Relieved. See, that's why I'm like, all right, sign me up now. Like, I wasn't ready this last weekend just because of my, like, seriously, like, mental break last week. But now I'm like,
Yeah,
just
when
the
it
way you
comes
just
to you, it's
explained
for
it,
you.
too. Like, I think that was, like, what I needed to hear, that little piece I needed to hear. Because in my mind, I'm going to go into something and I'm like an all or nothing person.
Mm-hmm.
So I was terrified that I would have this crazy experience and that I wouldn't be able to integrate back into into normal life, because that's just who I am. Like, I am an all or nothing. So I think I needed to hear that little bit of, like, it's okay if your integration process isn't like, right back to normal right away. I feel like things are just going to come and come and come.
Absolutely. I mean, the dismantling is so necessary.
Yeah.
And we try to avoid that. And that's why we have all these, substances that we turn to and these things that dull our senses.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to feel it. We don't want to experience it. But if you think about it, I feel like this medicine is mostly in alignment with nature and the character of nature. Yep. Like, no one says, oh, I hate nature. But nature is a bitch. Like, nature has that element of destruction and turning things over and destroying. And, like, think about a wildfire and what that does. And, it's destroying things, but yet new life comes from that. And if we can just embrace all of it and not be afraid, not separate things out, because that's another thing that this medicine has taught me, is because you're going to a space of non-duality, right?
Yep.
Where it's like, there is no categories.
Yeah.
There's no evil. There's no good. There's no love. There's no hate. It's just everything.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're that. You're everything.
Yeah.
And then you bring that back to you. That starts coming back in as your ego comes back online. You're embodying that reality that you are the universe. You are everything. And so then you're thinking, well, wait, why would I reject anything then? Why am I separating anything out? Why am I so afraid?
Yeah. Good point. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it sounds like an incredible experience. I can't fucking wait now. Okay, so tell me about becoming a facilitator and what drew you to that. So, like, you had your incredible experience, and then were you just like, okay, this is fucking it. Like, I need to, like, give this to others. I need to be able to hold space for others. Or was it, like, a slow
it was one of those things where, like, when you first experience something, you're like, oh, my God, this is incredible. I need to, like,
shout
to do
it from
this.
The rooftops.
Right, exactly. And so that was always in the back of my mind as I was still integrating my experience. And, and then it just kept building, and I was like, okay, I really want to start training with this medicine. And the gentleman that had a practice where I had gone for my first ceremony was based out of New York City. And then COVID hit. So the gentleman that had served me, Bufo, his practice was based out of New York City. And then when COVID hit, he had been traveling all over the world serving the medicine. So when COVID started, he had to come back. I think he was in Egypt or something serving over there. And he flew into Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so he just took up residence there instead of going back to New York because of everything that was happening in New York at the time. So he was there, and I'm trying to track this man down, and I can't.
Where'd you go?
Get a hold of him. Like I can't reach him. He's not responding to my messages because he's pretty much off grid, and I didn't know this. So I somehow located his assistant that was working with him, and from what they understood from my communication was that I was coming out to New Mexico for a ceremony. So I show up at their door, and they're like thinking I'm there for a ceremony. And I go, no, I'm not here for a ceremony. I'm here to train. And he was like, oh, okay, well, come on in. And so that's when it started. I just started following him around, finding out
I love how open he was to that. Like, didn't even question you.
He was probably shocked and just like, I'm probably not going to get rid of this girl anyway, so I'm just going to
train her.
Right. So that's what he did. I started right then that day, and I already had my whites on and everything. And I showed up at the door. I was like, I know how to dress. And they took me in, and then, when they would travel to different places, I would show up there and train. I spent a year where I didn't work a job, and basically like some of my
nomad lifestyle,
right,
on the road,
and asked a couple of friends to sponsor this, and kind of got behind it and supported me training.
That's incredible,
and helping me to like be able to fund it with not working a job. So that's what I did for a year, and trained with his assistant, who was amazing, and then another gentleman that's based out of New York City, and I would go there on, just drive there, train, just going back and forth training with him. And, and that took about a year, and then I was released to start my own practice and start traveling and serving. And yes, it is very nomadic. I absolutely love what I do because, it just has such an efficacy to it. It actually works. It actually changes lives. I mean, how many things, like, you see these advertisements all the time of things that
are supposed to change your life.
Making these promises and these claims, and then you try it and it doesn't work, especially like these face creams.
Girl, same.
So this works. It changed my life, radically changed my life. And I feel amazing. I feel great. And it just continues, and so I want to offer that gift to everyone else.
That so much.
And you travel like to other countries and stuff too, now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were just over in Ireland and Spain, and it's like taking you around the world.
Yeah, Mexico.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah,
truly incredible. So, speaking of your children and stuff like that, are they supportive of this new venture that you are doing in the holistic field? Like, coming from a church background and then just being like, yeah, guys, I'm a Bufo facilitator. Do you know what that is? I give people DMT.
Well, at first, it was just kind of unraveling, or just like unfolding, I should say. Well, maybe it was a little bit of both at the time, because I think they were really genuinely curious about my process, because they were like, okay, Mom has really gone off the deep end now. Like she's really done it.
Fucking nuts.
She's done it to herself, because initially when I did it, and this is an element to it, like when you were being dismantled and all that programming that you've known for all your life, your thoughts, how you relate to the world, everything, starts being unprogrammed, unlearned. It's a state of disequilibrium, which feels, chaotic. It's very chaotic energy, and And sometimes I genuinely thought, okay, have I lost my mind? Am I going to come back from this? And it was just undoing all the programming and all the fear.
Yeah.
And when you don't, that's one of the reasons I became an integration support counselor, because you don't want to send people into a medicine experience without offering that support afterwards. They need to
The
be
integration.
coached, right, as to what it looks like.
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot to process when you're like so open and so sensitive, and you have this deep realization that we're like all connected and we're all love and we're all so big, and like we're all like been taught to be so small, and you're like trying to like do that, and then you have to go back out into the real world that nobody else, not a lot of people have had this experience, and you're like
Feeling like an alien.
you're like, wait a minute. This all doesn't actually matter.
Right.
And like everyone is just so confused that like what actually matters and what doesn't matter. And you're like, and you can't just go and tell everybody how much it doesn't matter, because then they look at you like you're a crazy person.
Right, exactly.
So you're labeled as insane.
You are. And I thought I was for a minute, because it's like it's challenging everything that I thought was real, you know, and it's just what I'm realizing, it's just programming.
Yeah.
So my kids were watching all of that happen, and, you know, my youngest, Isaac, you know, when he saw me, you know, building a business around this, because, you know, I handle my practice as a business.
Yeah.
And I take a very clinical approach to how I work with people. And I'm collecting research right now to present to universities for my PhD in this, because I know that this is going to be
huge.
You know,
It's gonna be huge.
So So my kids were like, you know, Isaac especially, he was like, Mom, why can't you be like the other mothers? Why can't you be just normal? You know, and I'm like, Isaac, you're gonna thank me for this, because what I'm doing, like, I'm following my dream, I'm following my heart, my passion. Like, I really don't know how this is gonna unfold. I don't have the plan. You know, I'm kind of just taking it one step at a time, and, you know, it's showing them that they can go after their dreams. They don't have to have it all, that 5-year plan, or what's your 10-year plan, and you got to go to university, and you got to do this, and, you know, there's a freedom now that they have in pursuing their own dreams. So initially it was scary, because they were concerned about me.
Yeah.
You know,
just like, just not understanding, and it's a little scary probably for them. Just like seeing you sew one way and then sew another way.
Right. Well, that happened way before Bufo anyway, too,
true.
because it was like once I left the church.
I keep forgetting it was only 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because, like, you know, like I said, I didn't do anything. I didn't even drink alcohol, and then, like, they'll see me have a glass of wine or a beer or something, and the shift started happening.
Yeah.
Way back then.
Well, that's good, and I'm glad that they're supportive. That's good. I mean, it's probably as supportive as they can be, right?
Well, yeah, and so my immediate family is supportive, my kids, but my extended family has pretty much turned their back on me, and you know, they're waiting for me to come back, you know, to the faith,
to reality.
Yeah, to reality and to the faith, and, you know, not realizing, and, you know, and that's part of even this experience for myself, is allowing people to have their journey.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they're at.
Yeah.
This is what brings them a sense of safety and security, is being in the church, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting because my dad, I think, is starting to come around a little bit more, because, you know, he's seeing the change in my life, that I am more grounded, more centered, actually flow out of genuine love for people and myself that he has never seen before. Because even when I was in the church, it was a lot of perfunctory behavior. It was just, I have to do it, or else I'm not in good relationship with God. And God was something that was out here, separate, and, like, I have to pray to get to God, which was male. And, you know, so it was, now I realize, you know, I am divine, you know, that there is no separation, you know. So that authenticity that I'm flowing out of now is something that I think my extended family is starting to see, and maybe, you know, changing how they view me.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And the cool part about it is who the fuck cares how they view you at this point?
It really, yes. And that starts dismantling too, because, you know, what our parents think about us is so important, you know, and
Yeah, like you never want to disappoint or, let them down or,
yeah, exactly. And you don't realize, like, you're doing a lot of the same things that they did at a subconscious level.
Yeah.
You know, so, it's a lot of unlearning.
Yeah.
A lot of unlearning.
A lot of unlearning.
And I'm like, the 4 agreements, right? Like, it's just like that.
Yes.
I'm like, did he do Bufo?
Right. I don't think I even read the whole book. I think I just read that preface, the beginning, where he's talking about, like, your families and your programming and stuff. And I was like, I can stop right here.
The actor,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like we skipped right over this, but to the listeners, why don't we explain what Bufo is? Because I feel like some people are going to be like, wait, what the fuck is Bufo? Because that's literally, that was me.
True.
And you're like, yeah, I did Bufo. I'm like, what? You did what?
Well, Bufo is the secretions from the Colorado River toad, and that's found in the Sonoran Desert. So that's in northern Mexico and part of Arizona. And these toads, which look like the size of a football, you know, they have all of these, like, pustules on their backs and neck. And I was thinking it was just like these little glands on the side. I don't know why I was picturing that, but one of my partners that I served with raises toads. So he was showing me how he collects the medicine. So you really just are squeezing them like a pimple, you know, onto these glass plates, and then it dries out. And, you know, so really these secretions only have like 10 to 15% of 5-MeO-DMT. And then they have another like psychedelic in there. It's called bufotenin. And so those two substances together are what create the journey to this non-dual space.
And you can only smoke it, or can you do like, what's the frog medicine is the burning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you just smoke Bufo.
Yeah, it's an inhalation through an inhalation process.
Okay.
Yeah, if you ingested it, it's poison.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
True.
that's
True.
the toad's protection,
Yeah.
you know, from predators.
Yeah.
Do you know how somebody originally did that? Like, somebody was
There's
just
so
like,
much speculation over that.
like, who the heck took the frog, squeezed it, was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna dry this out and then smoke it.
No. Like, how do you figure it out?
Like, it's the same thing with any
Right.
like, you're like, oh yeah, that's it, or was it channeled? Right?
I think it was channeled. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, think about how we got ayahuasca, you know.
True.
It was given
True.
that understanding,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
And it's
this
it's the only toad that carries this medicine out of like the hundreds of species
Yeah.
of toads.
Yeah.
It's the only one.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I just think
And are they rare? Like, are they going extinct, or is that not a problem at all?
Oh, I think that is definitely something that it has to be navigated, you know, especially with how it's being profiled more and more. You know,
Yeah.
before it was just such an outlier kind of thing, and more people were finding out about it. So there are communities like the Seri tribe who are considered the caretakers of the toad. So they have, you know, have these sanctuaries where they're protected.
Is it a Native American tribe?
Yes, a Mexican, in Mexico. So, there's going to have to be some more steps to protecting these toads for sure. But for now, there's.
Interesting.
And then, okay, so obviously we have a lot of listeners, and we never want to, you know, we always say we're not giving medical advice.
Yeah,
we're not
and we're not
sick,
pushing drugs
we're
on you
not,
guys.
like, this is not, like, you know, I was, God, 11 years sober. You know what I mean? Like, it was called to me, like, it was something, like, not just you heard it on our podcast, so, like, you're called to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
what do you think, like, you worked with people with addiction. Like, a lot of our people our listeners are people that recovering potentially those kinds of things. And as I, you know that it was so healing for me, it could not be, right? Like, I don't know, like, is it, like, do you just suggest that anybody, like, can, like, is there, like, contraindications. Like, is there people that potentially shouldn't do it? Do you have to be off psych meds? Like, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like, those
yes,
kinds
yes.
of, like, actual, like, things that could make you not have a great experience, right? You don't just want, like, people going out and just being like, oh, yeah, I need to do this thing because I need to heal all my trauma.
Right, yes. And that is part of the whole process, that I've curated when you come to me as a facilitator. There is a full medical screening process, as you know. There are criteria. There are some people that are not a good fit for this medicine.
What does that look like? Could you give an example?
Yeah, someone that is on an SSRI currently or an SNRI, this medicine works with the same receptors in the brain. So you do have to wean off of those prescriptions beforehand and work with your doctor. I'm not a doctor. Which is
kind of just like microdosing as well. Like, you can't really mix the two. I feel like with any of that stuff, any of this stuff, you shouldn't really be like mixing the two.
Exactly. And, with the irony with that they work with the same receptors as antidepressants and anti-anxiety is that, the antidepressants kind of just create this disconnect from your soul, to kind of just zombify or numb you from actually feeling and experiencing the connection with yourself. And then Bufo, working with those same receptors connects you to yourself in the most intimate, deep way that's possible. And I think that's why people are being able to give up their addictions, is because they are finally connecting with themselves.
Because that's what it is. Opposite of addiction is connection. Like, we're just all needing connection.
And that first and most important connection is with yourself.
To yourself, yeah.
And it's like Whitney Houston saying, the greatest love of all is learning to love yourself. And, it sounds so trite, like so familiar to say that, I just got to learn to love myself. But this medicine is what was the gateway, was the tool, the catalyst for me finally being able to fully truly accept all my parts and love all my parts.
Yeah, that's what it is. And that's what it was for me. The second time was that I finally integrated every piece of myself that I had shame, for, and just finally, I talked a little bit about it today in the reel that I shared of just finally honoring that I have been through all of these things, addiction and childhood trauma and homelessness and, just levels. There's so many levels of trauma that I've been through, and it was I could accept some pieces of it, but I couldn't accept other pieces of it. And it really just integrated it all to be why not? Because no matter how much shit that I've been through, I still choose to do everything I can to show other people how much they should love themselves and show them their own power and do those things. And I wasn't doing that for myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually empowering myself or loving myself the way I wanted everybody else to love themselves. And it finally just it's just holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit.
No, I remember when you called me, I was laying in bed and Dill's who is that? And I'm it's Amy. And she's she sounds like she's hyped up on something right now. I was yeah, she just got out of her ceremony. She's fucking pumped. She had a fucking experience.
Yeah, holy fucking shit. That's it, right?
You were just Tay. You just kept saying Tay. I'm what? You're Tay. What the fuck? I know. Crazy.
Yeah, unreal.
Yeah, it's a beautiful experience. I'm so glad that you were able to have that, because I feel that, right? That came at the perfect time that it needed to come.
Yeah, it was right after the jumping in the ocean, the freezing ocean, Lunar New Year, right after I was it was all channeled about this and the podcast and the women's circle. And it was 4 days after that I had my meeting with you, and I met Gary the day before.
I remember it was boom, 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 boom.
Everything catalyst, and then it's what's come out of that. This is what's incredible. Come out of that. Our women's circles are full. Every sound bath is full. My breathwork certification, I signed up for my breathwork certification 2 weeks after that. the breath work is changing shit. Like I am fully just activated, and I am not allowing any of this fucking outside noise to, because I could, right? There's so many things outside that are happening in my world that could literally be taking me out and not having me show up the way that I'm showing up. But I'm choosing to do it anyway, because I know it actually doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter.
That's the most liberating thing with this medicine. That's what, you hear these podcasts where they're talking about, DMT and toad medicine and stuff. It's that cosmic joke, right? Where you go to that space and you just realize, all of this is really an illusion, and that nothing really does matter. But everything matters, right? And it's just...
Everything is matter. We're energy.
Right. Everything is matter. Right. And that we are energy. So, yeah, it does shift how you are viewing your own energy and the energy of others, and how you manipulate it with what you're creating and manifesting, like you're talking about with the breath work and the circles. And that's energy.
Yeah. It is.
And
that's like another thing though, right? Like you're labeled as like, you come out and you show up in this way that like you never have before, right? So like you're labeled as fucking crazy or not well, or Amy's on drugs. Like, no, she's actually fucking not. And she's just like finally being her authentic self.
Or
and
mentally
I think a lot
ill.
of people...
That's what I get a lot of, mentally ill.
Yeah, like a lot of
and
people don't fuck with that. Like you start to switch up on some people that are not healing or not doing the work and not wanting to respect your journey. They're like, oh no, like you like, no, she's fucking tapped. Yeah, you're changed. Like you're on drugs. Like I don't know who the fuck this person is, but this isn't. Like, okay, like it's time to just like let go of relationships like that and like kind of just move into the path of like, no, I'm gonna live authentically and be who the fuck I am. And if you accept that, you accept that. If you don't, then like,
see ya,
bye.
My soul family's coming in. Like they're pouring in. There is just people that like I'm like holding on to these relationships thinking that like I needed them, or they were like so important. And yeah, they were very important at the time that they were important. But if you can't see me for who I truly am and what I've grown into and the work that I've done to get here, to live this way with an open fucking heart, my heart is so open. I am at my turn once a week coaching these kids that are, with Taylin at this like teenage program where I'm like empowering them to, get birth certificates and jobs and just show them that like, I was homeless and like I was just like you, but I didn't have somebody coaching me. What's today? Monday, Wednesday, I'm gonna be in Valley Street Jail all day, bringing sound and meditation into Valley Street Jail.
Incredible.
Like, I'm a really fucking shitty person, and you probably shouldn't be my friend if that's what you think, right? Like,
no, I just think that's it though, right? It's like it's just a misunderstanding. Like people aren't willing to understand what they can't understand. Like it's like you are so misunderstood right now, and I think it's because you went from living such an extravagant, crazy lifestyle to this. And so from outside looking in, it looks fucking insane.
Because money actually doesn't matter either.
Exactly. But like you left this lifestyle aim, and so to a lot of people, they're like,
fucking crazy.
How the fuck and why the fuck would she leave this lifestyle? And so they're just assuming she's on drugs. She fucking relapsed. Like, there's no way she would willingly leave. Like,
or mentally ill. That's a good one. Cool. You can call me mentally ill if you want. My life is really beautiful, and I have really beautiful people and really beautiful things. But that's how you show up, too.
It's like you don't feel the need to, like, persuade or convince anyone. Like, you just don't say anything, and that's admirable because me, on the other hand, I'd be fucking getting loud all over my social media.
Well, when you really understand
that
it doesn't actually matter. There's like that thing that's going around. It's like, oh, if I'd give you $1 million, but like you'd be unhealthy. Like, would you choose your health? Like, I'd give you $1 million, but like your mom would be sick. Like, would you still choose $1 million? It's like, there's actually all these other things that you actually would choose over money that are way more valuable. And everybody's not chasing their health, going to the gym, going to yoga, making sure they're putting good things in their body. They're not like making sure that their mom, it's like everybody's like really got it all mixed up.
Yeah, we all do. Just like you said, though, it's programming. Like, we have to like unlearn a lot of these things that we've been taught. It's society.
Well, that's part of letting go of those attachments too.
Yeah.
You know, at the initial break is the hardest, right? You know, and then once it's done, you realize, wow, the space is there now. Like once that's released, you feel this spaciousness and you feel this release, and you're like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
why was I even holding on to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I feel so much better now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about it this weekend, that like when you're so stuck in the fact that you can't leave, you have to make the act. You can't just like be thinking about the act. You have to actually show the universe that you're ready to like take the jump, and then the universe reacts to your reaction.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And that's
exactly
how it
right.
happened.
Yeah, that's
Shit just started like falling into place. Like,
like that.
yeah.
The house.
Yeah.
And
you really have, like, a lot of people, that was another big thing, right? Like, everyone questioned like your sanity when you were like, I'm not going to worry about money. Like, I'm just not going to worry about money. Like, I just know for a fact, like, the universe will provide, right? And to us, like, that seemed scary. And I was like, what do you mean, Aim? Like, what do you mean you're not going to worry about money? Like, I'm not trying to have you be homeless with all these fucking kids. Like, but you were just so, like,
Trusting.
so trusting
Well, you're
and certain.
manifesting too.
Yes,
because you're understanding your power as a creator. That's your divinity right there. That's your birthright. That's your goddess power.
Yeah.
You are a manifester.
Yeah.
And that's what's like cutting against that whole masculine
energy,
wounded masculine energy, that old stale patriarchy where you got to plan, you got to have your ducks in a row, which, you know, things are shifting now. Things are shifting. So
Things
like
are definitely
the
shifting.
pioneers of anything always look crazy.
Yeah.
But think about it. We're ushering in this new divine feminine energy.
That's so true. That's such
So
a good way to look at it.
the pioneers look like crazy because there's nothing before that.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
stepping into
You're
the
so
unknown,
right.
and everyone else is terrified to do it, but they wish somebody would lead the
Just
fucking
do
way.
it. Yeah, just lead the fucking way.
You know? So you are leading the charge, right?
And labeled as crazy. I don't give a fuck. Like, let's
but
do
you
it.
know, 5 years down the road, when everyone else starts catching up because the momentum is shifting things, you know, you're going to be heralded as like champions. Really, think about it. Like
You're
where
so
you're
right.
at
No,
right
you're
now.
so right. I feel like that's just
stick-
it with
you too.
anything. Like,
Stay the course. Oh, I know,
Yeah.
baby girl. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. Because I gave that up a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was the best thing that ever happened to me, was
Just
losing
giving
my
it up.
reputation.
Yeah.
yeah.
Now I'm free to be anything I want to be, because I've already experienced that death. It's like in
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, what
Yeah.
is dead can never die.
Yes.
You know, that's the
Yes.
reality of it. Like what is
Yes.
dead can never die. That died.
Yeah.
My reputation died. What people think of me, that attachment to that, family members, friends, that's gone.
Yeah.
So it's dead. It can't
Yeah.
die again.
No.
So I'm still here.
Yeah.
Like people can talk about me, like you're talking about me, you're saying this, you're doing this, everyone's asking other people about me but not asking me about me, which is weird. And I'm like, that's just weird behavior to me. Like that doesn't, like, again, like I've just been free of that. Like I really don't care. Say what you want to say about me. I don't care.
Yeah.
I know who I am. I know I know where my heart lies. I know how I show up every single day. I know how I lay my head down on the pillow at night. I sleep very well at night, and there's not a single ounce of me that cares. Oh, that's it. Look what other people think. And there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it happening, and a lot of it I hear. I'm always just like,
I feel like that just comes with, like, that's just because of who you were before, though, you know? Like 11 years or what in the program, like tons of women and people who know you from like that. It's like kind of the same. You were in the church community for so long, and then you leave and everyone's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what is happening?
Oh yeah,
and
all
the
of those
and the
people.
Bible is the same thing as the Big Book when you were talking
Yeah,
about the Bible
exactly.
and the rules
It's like
and
you
the
gotta follow
rigidity.
this rule.
Yes.
Only way. It's the only way.
Yes.
It's the only way. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, I was preaching in all these churches in my community. I was doing teacher trainings in other churches, so I was like networking throughout the entire district, which was all over New York State. You know, so when I left, it was like,
yeah.
oh, Jess has gone off the deep end. She's a sinner. She's fallen from grace. You know, so what I did is I just started blocking all those people.
Yeah.
Just cut them out of my
Bye.
life, off of Facebook, off of every social media profile. You're not going to get to peek into my world.
Yeah.
You know, so that you have access to see anything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I cut that I cut that attachment, and
I started doing that too.
it's freeing.
I started
They don't need to
blocking
see
everyone.
anything.
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
They'll be the first one to watch my story. And I'm
Oh,
sure they're
absolutely.
the first. I'm sure they're
Yes.
the first one. Do you know how many we have all these views, and we're always like, I bet you half of the people are the people that hate us, just listening, wondering what we're up to. Like,
Absolutely.
hi.
But you also don't know who you're influencing and affecting, and even some of the haters.
And the impact is huge, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to
absolutely.
negate that in any way, because the impact that we have had has been massive, and it has been beautiful, and the amount of messages and women that we've met through the circle, like, the impact has been fucking incredible.
Yeah, that's why we're doing it. But we obviously knew our first one got like 1,000 views or something like
Wow.
that.
Like, immediate.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Just because everyone's
You
like,
got to just keep
oh
going.
my God, they left
we'll
AA.
never stop.
Yeah.
Just keep going. You guys are incredible what you're doing this work. I'm just so excited. Like, just watching you guys, like, sometimes I don't listen to all the podcasts, but I'm like listening to clips of it,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh my God, this is incredible what they're doing. And then, just from the people that I know that are connected to you, they're singing your praises,
Yeah.
Amy. Like, they just think you're incredible. You're anchoring, them and their like evolutionary process and their journey back to self.
Yeah.
We need places like this. We need voices like both of
We
yours.
need space. We need someone to hold space for us. And
Yeah.
you've always been like a space holder for me in every single part of my life. It's so true. So,
and an empowerer.
yeah. Yeah.
That's my new thing. I'm not a healer.
I'm not a healer. I'm an empowerer.
I am, right? Like, because we're all healers. We're all healers. That's what, like, and you said this to me. You were just like, Amy, like, we're only mirror. Because I'm like, I just, like, love you so much. And, like, I honor you and I see you. And it just feels so good to be seen. And she's like, yeah, well, I'm a mirror. Like, you see in me what you have in you. Like, you couldn't see it in me if you didn't have it in you.
Yeah, exactly.
So anybody that sees these things in me or in Tay or in you or in anybody else that you're watching, if you're seeing that, it's in you. Because you couldn't see it if it wasn't in you.
Yeah.
Wow,
exactly.
I love that so much.
Exactly.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Right. You're not like, and everyone's built up these walls and built up these things or these like unattainable thoughts, or because of our programming and everybody told you that you weren't or couldn't or whatever it was, but you already have it in you. Everything you need, you already have in you.
Yeah.
Well, I want to jump on that point that you're making too. Conversely, like, because you did mention people that, speak against you and the haters, that's, you're mirroring back to them what's in them. That's why they're seeing it in you. You can't judge someone without it being in yourself. So it's like it's really just a mirror to their soul.
Yep.
That they're not accepting
the
about
hate.
themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And rejecting that part of themselves. So you have to just let people be, and separate it out from yourself, knowing who you are.
The medicine did that for me. Huge shifts.
Oh, me too.
Huge
Me
shifts. Like,
Yeah.
like I can't, it's just the most beautiful and just like reintegrating and still understanding that, okay, like I have this new understanding, but I do also still have to show up in this world, right?
Be
and
a human.
be a human and learn how I can integrate my knowing of this with still having to add some kind of logic, some kind of masculine, some kind of like,
absolutely. Well, that's the
like
union.
business,
That's
right.
the perfection. That's the twin flame. Really, it's the divine masculine, the divine feminine coming together. That's what this even represents. This is the masculine. This is the feminine. So when we see these prayer hands, it's the union of those two within yourself. So it's not denying one over the other.
No.
It's all in you, the masculine and the feminine. It's coming together in perfect union.
Yeah.
And when you honor that is when you become a whole human, like in yourself, and can show up as this full, loving. And there's one of your reels that you talk about, toxic masculinity. And like if you have a view of masculinity as toxic and you're not accepting it, that, right? That was
it's actually not toxic masculinity. It's wounded masculinity because they're a product of the indoctrination, the programming too.
Yeah.
These men are trying to feel their way through, all of the programming of what a man's supposed to look like when, denying their feelings, their intuition, their heart. And it's a tough space for all of us, not just for women, but for men too. I mean, I have 3 boys, and I see how they're trying to navigate that and honor, themselves through it against all the programming that society is throwing at them of what it looks like to be a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wounded masculinity, right?
Yeah.
And we can look at them as wounded, these men that are operating and, out of their wounds, and they're causing more wounds, but who's checking on them to make sure that they're
That's
okay,
right.
and they're healing, and they're doing the work too, right? Because they need to do just as much work as we do. It's not just the women that need to heal. Like, the men need to heal too.
I know.
And it's grievance too. It's like if the pendulum swings to the other direction, and I'm glad I really got a chance to say this because this has been on my heart. With the rise of the divine feminine to balance the energies, if we shift over this to this degree where we deny men and we're like, no, you've had your chance, it's our time now, and that operate out of that energy, then that is not really what's going to bring healing to the world. It's just shifting the pendulum swing, and it's just as grievous to have that as
just
the
like politics.
toxic masculinity.
People are too far to the right or too far to the left. Like, you can't do that. We've got to find.
And that's why we have to change the language to around, toxic masculinity, because if you don't change the language, then you can't change the culture,
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
And we need to be in balance, the women.
Exactly.
And it's like
coming together,
and the men can support the women, and the women can support the men to be more from their hearts.
That's right.
And the women and the men can support the women to be more airy and flowy and give us the support we need to tap into that. And then when they're doing that, we're building them up to trust their heart and their intuition. Because everybody has it. Women aren't the only ones with heart and intuition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if we integrate our divine masculine with our divine feminine, men have the same. They have to integrate those two as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, it is.
If we could just I started to listen to the Cecilian Prophet today, and the synchronicities and all of that, because that was a big piece that kind of tied together in the medicine was everything that I had I've been able, that's the lesson, right, to transmute your pain into love.
Yes.
In the process of just transmuting every bit of pain, every bit of trauma, every bit of guilt, every bit of shame into love.
Yeah. That's the goal. That's
And
the
just
mission.
to have a deep understanding that every single thing that has happened to you has led you to your healing.
That's right. And really, I think we, when you think about love, we have so many different ideas of what love is. And for me, I think the word that encompasses the love that you're describing is acceptance. It's just full acceptance. And it's just, I couldn't understand, loving myself, what does that really mean to love myself? And I realized that, just accepting myself for what I am, who I am in this present moment, whatever that looks like. Today I got up and I was like, I'm feeling so tired today. And my daughter was like, just accept it. Just accept that. You're tired today. But we're always in this mindset, we've got to produce, we got to get at it.
Go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we can't, with that coming at us, we can't, that's working against us accepting ourselves in the moment. So that's where I'm learning to shut all of that out, the other voices, what society is throwing at me, and just I'm depressed today, or I'm angry today, or I'm feeling selfish today. All those things that we normally would put in the bad category, oh, I shouldn't be that way, I need to be this. No. Whatever it is that you're experiencing, I'm feeling nasty today, and just accepting that and not trying to even transmute it, Because then when you accept it, it gets transmuted.
Energy's emotion.
Yeah.
Like our emotions are energy. And as long as we feel it and allow it to move, it
Right.
moves us through.
With just acceptance, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what love is to me.
And that's also like, you know, you don't get to do the medicine and you're just like, oh, all love and light and everything's beautiful. Like, no, we still are here in this human experience and we feel all the emotions and feel all the
Absolutely.
things.
That's why I, like when people call me an angel in the medicine, I'm just like, you have no idea.
Well, you do look like one.
Yeah, you really
Maybe
do.
a fallen angel.
If you guys, if you're not watching on YouTube, but if you saw her right now, she just looks like this like beautiful white dressed angel, like angelic angel, and she's so tall and like beautiful. Just
Yeah,
elven.
she's stunning. Elven. She's an elven.
Yeah, just watch the YouTube video. You have to.
Or follow.
Yeah, or
We'll
follow
link
her,
her and
yeah.
follow her on Instagram and all the things because.
So angelic, just so angelic.
Yeah, I'll never
Because
forget
I-
when
well,
Jed
I
showed me your
am.
Instagram that like you are an angel, you are an angelic being, and when you like wake up in the medicine and you just see her, you're like,
Yes.
did I go to heaven? Wait a
Okay,
minute.
so
It's like
this is
all
happening.
geometric shapes. Like you're just it's like so connected and like holy, everything's so beautiful. And,
Yeah. So how
and then
long
you,
is it? Like 15, 20 minutes? You're out?
It's about 30 minutes.
Okay,
the whole
30
journey.
minutes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
And then you like have food or anything right after it, and it's like the best thing you've ever
Oh
eaten.
God, yeah. After
The
Bufo, anything after Bufo
Anything.
tastes incredible.
Really?
Oh God.
And you go outside and like everything is so alive. It's like you're a newborn. Like you're like
You feel
seeing
like, yeah.
everything
baby.
for the first,
Well,
like
that's
as
what
an adult,
my
you're
kids
like,
make fun of me because like I'll be like just walking along and I'll just stop because like something that I wouldn't have noticed before just stands out and
Yeah.
I see the magic in it, and they're like, "Mom, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just looking at this building over here and or studying this tree or this flower," and they're like,
yes.
"Let's go."
I know. I'm like the same way, I swear. Like in nature, I feel so grounded in nature. When I'm just like going through it, I bring my kids outside and we just fuck around outside, and I'm like, I'll be looking at the trees and I'm just like, I could literally cry.
Yeah.
Like I was literally in my
Yeah.
yard the other day, me and Dill were like,
Yeah.
we could cry right now. Like
Yeah.
we were just sitting watching the kids run through the field, and I was like, I could fucking cry right now. Like this
Yeah.
is so beautiful. Like
That's
beautiful.
that's the paradox of this medicine is like what you were saying, that nothing matters and then everything matters, because it's like you lose like the confinement of like the pressure of everything mattering. You lose that sense.
Yeah.
But then you retain the magic of like everything matters. Like this moment here right now there's no other moment. This is sacred. This is special.
Yeah.
You know, and you carry that into every moment. Like, wow, this is amazing. I'm sitting here eating, you know, a salad or whatever it is. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm up with my kid in the middle of the night and they're crying and I'm consoling my child. This is fucking amazing.
yeah.
And that's what you carry.
yeah, the real things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lessons. Yeah, that's so beautiful. And obviously, right, like it's like once that you have that experience, you're probably like, oh, I just want everyone to experience this. But you're right. It's like even for me, like like I had an opportunity and I was like, nope, it's not aligning right now. Like I need to sit through it and like kind of just sit on it more. But now I swear to God, like after this conversation, I feel like I'm definitely, it just like clicked, because I'm always open, right? Like I've done tons of psychedelic. They said we smoked like DMT in high school in someone's basement, but I don't remember the journey, and who knows if it was even real DMT, right? But I was like out. We were all out. We all watched each other. We all took turns. It was like 15 minutes. We went out and then we came back, and I don't remember having like a journey. I remember like falling asleep, you know? And so it's like, who even knows? But I am very open to trying alternative medicines like that, because I am just like so open, and I'm just like, whatever is meant to be will be. And I feel that so deeply in my soul. And I do have a lot of shit that I need to heal from, right? Like a lot of trauma that I feel like I'm holding on to, and these attachments that I know I need to let go of. And so like I'm just I'm willing to do it all. I just am.
Well, if you think about it, like in Buddhist teaching, they say that the root of all suffering is attachment. That's what causes all suffering. It's just our attachment, because then when we don't have it, we grieve. It's a sense of loss. And so if you can have that, where you don't have attachment, but yet can still enjoy something, like it doesn't have, you don't have to own it. I guess that's what shifts too, is that sense of ownership, which creates the attachment.
Yeah.
And if you can live outside of the illusion where we don't own anything anyway, like we don't possess anything.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
What do we possess?
Yeah.
Nothing.
So to be attached to it, so to have that understanding that we don't own anything, it's all an illusion, you can actually just have fun and enjoy what's right in front of you.
Yeah, actually, like, live life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Never seen a hearse with a trailer hitch.
Oh my god.
that's right. It's true. That's true.
You go in, you come out,
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been incredible. I want to thank you so much for being here and spending this time with us.
Yeah, we always say if there's one thing that you would like to end and tell the listeners, like your one most profound lesson, or just one thing that you just really the message you want to get across, what would that be? The pressure is on.
No.
I would say, the most powerful connection that you will ever have on this earth is the one with yourself. So whatever you need to do to cultivate that, do it. And if this medicine is what you use, or you use breath work or another medicine or another type of situation, whatever that is, cultivate that. Self-care, soul care is the best investment that you can have, the investment in yourself. That's the message that I would want to leave with.
love that.
Yeah, I love that. And we actually talked about that, because we're not going to call it work anymore. We're not calling it inner work. We're not calling it the work. We're done, because that doesn't sound good. It's soul care.
Soul care.
We're
Soul
doing
care.
soul
You're a
care.
caretaker. You're a caretaker.
Like self-care, but soul care. I
Yeah.
like that.
You're just a caretaker of
That's
your
Jessica,
soul.
not me. That's
And
what she
it's-
said this.
Well, who likes to work? And it's
I
like,
know, true.
and honestly, that infers that you're trying to get somewhere. You're trying to accomplish something.
Yeah, when
and-
really there's no end.
But
Like
why?
we're still going.
Yeah, but that's a part of it, rejecting yourself, because you're like, oh, I need to change. I need to heal. You know what I'm saying? So you're trying to get
Okay,
somewhere.
yeah.
So I'm not trying to get somewhere. I love every part of myself.
Yeah.
But as a caretaker of my soul, I'm tuning in to what doesn't serve me anymore, and I'm releasing that. It's not like, I got to do the work. I got to forgive myself. I got to
Yes.
do this. Because I need to be somewhere else other than where I am. No, it's full acceptance of yourself. You're just cultivating and nurturing like you would a garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just your soul's a garden. So that's how I like to refer to it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's so profound.
So good.
I'm so profound.
I'm done healing. I'm done healing.
I know.
Not doing it anymore.
I love that.
Not doing it. I'm not pursuing
I
healing.
feel like everything in my life right now, I'm I just need to heal. I need to do this. I need to do that. I have so much fucking trauma. I just need to heal. But I just love the way that you just explained that. I just
I'm
need
on a
to.
quest, a
Yeah.
soul quest to rediscover myself. That's an
what
adventure.
I just had
It is
a
an
light bulb.
adventure.
Exciting.
I literally just had a light bulb
It's an
moment.
adventure.
Yeah.
Like-
when you find some little hidden shadow aspect of who you are that's just been there nudging you to try to get you to tune in and notice that part of yourself, and then you receive that part, you love that part, and you're like, oh, I've been missing you too. How did I get in here? You pack that part into your heart.
Yes. Yes.
That's soul care.
Yes.
It's not work.
That's so
That's
good.
an adventure.
Yes.
Discover all the little missing parts of yourself that have been scattered because of trauma. They've been hurt.
Literally
It's not your
scattered.
fault.
Right. It's not your fault.
But it's your responsibility.
to bring them home.
And love them up.
Wow.
Yeah,
My
love 'em
God.
up.
I feel like I'm never going to look at trauma the same way.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
That's your little lost parts. They're just
My
wanting to come
little
back.
lost parts. So
Trying to
true.
come home.
I'm like gonna
They just
cry.
wanna come home.
Yeah, I said
Yeah.
that was my first
Call 'em
experience. I was like, I got you. I just remember
That's
being
right. I
like,
remember you saying that.
I got you. You can come out. I
Yeah.
got you.
Mm-hmm.
I got
you. Did.
you.
You did.
I can't.
I just woke up crying and being like, I got you.
Oh.
You don't have to hide anymore.
Oh.
And I was hugging myself.
I know. I mean, people don't realize, like, as a facilitator, seeing people's journeys and what they come back with, the message that they come back from, being with Source or being home, really.
Yeah.
And those messages they return with. And it's like, I'm sitting there listening, and I'm just like, oh my God.
I know. Like, that must be such a crazy experience for just you, too. Like,
Oh my God, to see the process.
yeah, like, as a facilitator, like, that must be incredible.
Oh, it is. That's why I consider it such an honor.
Yeah.
I get to do this.
Yeah.
This is.
It changed my life. That I think, honestly, being able to sit and, be there and see people's journeys was more profound
Than your own.
than
Or
my
is
own.
equally profound.
Yeah,
I'd say.
equally, for sure. It was like
Yeah.
a totally different experience. It was literally, you don't realize, and then you're like, oh, wow.
Oh, shit.
This
Yeah.
is the most beautiful
Because
thing.
it's people's true self
Yeah.
speaking the words, because the ego's not back
Yeah.
fully online to
Yeah.
like argue with you. Well, that's not true. You know?
Yeah.
Don't believe that. Where the doubts and the fears start coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
Your true self is
You're just so
speaking.
connected. Yeah.
Yeah.
so beautiful.
So incredible. I can't wait. Well,
So we will end the same way we start, right? One hand on the heart, your intuition. One hand on the belly, your wisdom. Breathe in, lift up, rise up, fill up. And then slowly exhale and just let that shit go. Thanks for listening. Thanks,
thanks,
Jessica.
guys. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to what we have to say. It means the world. As always, we want to end this episode by reminding you that we are not medical professionals and we are not giving any type of medical advice. We are simply sharing our experience and solutions.
We are here with the intentions of reminding you that you are never alone and that everyone's healing journey is unique to the individual. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms to stay updated. Stay well, Sacred Rebels. See you next time.